Yes, and so then it was about a year later, came up on the summer, and I knew that if I wanted to take it seriously, I was going to have a little bit of practice for sure. So I got your book.
But not just blind practice, because then itself it can give you a false sense of confidence. Because with circuit analysis, the polarities and the directions, the equations and the assumptions, and then translating the setup that you have for, let's say, you're doing KCL, right, and making sure that flows through between the equations and your assumptions. It's extremely important to take a very methodical approach.
And like you said, kind of progressed through the stages of costs that it was going to also use to take this exam, but it was well worth it, and kind of by doing that gave me structure to finally get to my fourth attempt, because
you had a strategy going about executing a plan, right, and taking the exam, even as to which sections you're going to tackle first. And interestingly, you ended up facing the most challenging, or arguably one of the most challenging sections in the first half, which is circuits, head on. And this is a total reversal from, let's say, your previous attempts potentially, where circuits was always looming large, right, in terms of that one section that is going to have an outsized impact and can potentially result in death by 1,000 cuts type of thing, right? Hi, Cole.
I was seeing
How's it going?
very good, excited.
Cool. Congratulations on passing your FE Electrical and Computer exam.
Thank you.
It has been an interesting journey, and you didn't give up and you got it done. So many congrats. Let us start with your academic background, when you graduated and what prompted you to get on to the licensing process.
Yes, I graduated in May of 2023, and later that, or earlier actually, we knew we were expecting a child, so we were trying to make plans, to go back home after I finished school. So I graduated, and then later that September had our first kid, and so a lot of life stuff was happening, and I actually had planned on taking the FE while it was cheaper. You'll notice I tried to do things cheaper throughout this, but
Yes, makes
and
perfect sense. Why
yeah,
not?
and so I was going to try to take it within 6 months of graduating. So I took it, I believe, in November of 2023, and had no study material, just kind of winged it, saw what it was going to be like. And of course, I was not successful.
Right. But still, you had the advantage that you were a relatively recent graduate, so I don't think that was a bad strategy at all, although the exam still requires a lot of preparation. So that brings us into 2024.
Yes, and so then it was about a year later, came up on the summer, and I knew that if I wanted to take it seriously, I was going to have a little bit of practice for sure. So I got your book, and after thumbing through the book real quick, I realized you had a course, and I knew that was going to possibly give me the structure and timeline that I could actually do this in a timely manner, as well as focused throughout the course as well, instead of just whatever problems I kind of came across. So then I jumped right into your online course program.
Right. And you started with the on demand or on demand plus live training?
Yes, it was. I started with the on demand, and
Right.
went through the course
Yeah. So you're
regularly.
taking baby steps, right? First, you tried
Yes.
it on your own. Then you're like, okay, let me grab a study guide from Amazon. And then you're like, okay, I need on demand. So let me go through on demand. So then you attempted your second, right, exam?
Yes, and then I attempted the second exam around the almost the same time. It was about in November of 2024, and of course, that one was not successful either. But I had felt much better, more prepared for some of the topics that I had never heard of, never really gave too much thought until I looked into the NCEES practice exam and the topics that are in that exam. I didn't know how to use the handbook either. and your course taught me with a lot of practice how to use the handbook to my advantage.
Right. And in terms of your third attempt, I know you told me that it was same I was unable to make it happen, and then you're like, I still want to continue. And I think at that point in time, you also added the live training right to your profile. So in a stepwise progression, you're like, I need more and more resources. And the third time around, you utilize live training, not live real time, but
No, yes, I used your live training recordings that you had to get more practice in, and then also explanation of the solutions. That helped a lot, and like you said, kind of progressed through the stages of costs that it was going to also use to take this exam. But it was well worth it, and kind of by doing that gave me structure to finally get to my fourth attempt, because the third attempt that I had after using the live training, definitely, it was only a month or two after the second attempt, or the first attempt after taking your program. And so that was a fairly quick turnaround. And so I think I psyched myself out on that attempt.
But I think there was a clear progression in terms of your scores as well, and you got relatively close to passing, and there was improvement, especially in the areas that you had been previously struggling, and that's when you really identified that circuit analysis is really where you need to spend a little bit more time. I remember you asking some very detailed questions on the community regarding the homework assignments, the quizzes, the mini exams, and responding to those questions. I was like, cool, I think that I know exactly what you need to do. You need to go back to the drawing board and really firm up circuit analysis, because once we get once we get a good handle on circuit analysis, your linear systems, your power systems, your electronics, and obviously circuit analysis itself, all of these sections will benefit immensely. And you took it to heart, and you basically made sure that you had a good grasp on circuit analysis. And if I'm not mistaken, you did spend quite a bit of time on circuit analysis before your fourth attempt, right?
Yes, yes, it was all back to the basics, and I know you've mentioned it multiple times throughout the course. Whenever you are going through circuits, that it's very easy to feel like you had grasped the concept, even though you might have gotten the wrong solution, and kind of tell yourself that I would have figured that out. You need to run through it again. Run through it again. Practice, practice, practice. That was my mindset whenever it came to my fourth and final attempt.
But not just blind practice, because then itself it can give you a false sense of confidence. Because with circuit analysis, the polarities and the directions, the equations and the assumptions, and then translating the setup that you have for, let's say, you're doing KCL, right, and making sure that flows through between the equations and your assumptions. It's extremely important to take a very methodical approach, like almost like baby steps, because at the end of the day, if you have a good understanding of passive sign convention in terms of polarities for currents and voltage gain and voltage drop, and know the basic rules around mesh analysis, nodal analysis, Thevenin theorem, Norton theorem, you can solve pretty much every circuit, right? And the interesting thing is that, as I mentioned, in even electronics, when you're doing BJT analysis, transistors, op amps, I basically help students understand the op amp analysis using KCL primarily, while using two rules regarding op amps. Current entering the positive terminal is always equal to zero, so is the negative terminal, and the voltage of the positive and negative terminals are both equal to each other. For DC circuit analysis, that's all you need to know, combined with KCL. And I think that played a significant role in you passing this exam in your recent attempt, along with, I think, better execution on the exam day, essentially, because in terms of going for the easy questions first and then managing your time and composure and confidence. So if you can walk us through, like, how different was your mindset in your fourth attempt despite the three failures, And how did you keep yourself composed?
Yeah, as I went through your practice exams, I attempted many different strategies. I attempted just going through, answering them as I found them fit to answer if I knew them. So I had tried that strategy, and of course, that drew out a lot of time. And then I tried the answer the easiest and then flag the hard ones. And you obviously are overconfident a lot of times whenever it comes to questions when you're just skimming through. So I found myself, telling myself as I skimmed through, I knew that question, and when it came to answering it, it took too much time. And so on this that last attempt, I simply went through, flagged all the questions that I thought I could get, and then once I had went all the way through, went back, revisited all the flagged sections. Actually, in the first session, I just did circuits first because I knew that if I wanted to do well, I had to get the circuits questions. And since they're towards the end of the morning session, I was never giving myself enough time. And so I did those first. And then I went through, did the math, probability, ethics, all that stuff right after. And that gave me a lot of confidence getting those circuits questions right, or believing I got those right, and progressing through the exam that way. And it gave me plenty of time, especially to give me time into the afternoon session. And whenever it came to those questions that I had flagged because I thought I knew them, if I didn't, if I had to guess, I unflagged it and made sure to revisit some of those that I unflagged if time permitted.
And just by listening to your approach, I can clearly tell that you had a strategy going about executing a plan, right? And taking the exam, even as to which sections you're going to tackle first. And interestingly, you ended up facing the most challenging, or arguably one of the most challenging sections in the first half, which is circuits, head on. And this is a total reversal from, let's say, your previous attempts, potentially where circuits was always looming large, right, in terms of that one section that is going to have an outsized impact and can potentially result in death by 1,000 cuts type of thing, right? And you got the result. So fortune favors the brave, and there's no doubt that you put in tons of effort and you never gave up. After second attempt, third attempt, like, I'm inching closer and closer and utilizing more and more resources. And kudos to you for all the hard work that you put in, in between the life events, the birth of your child, and obviously managing full-time work. It's not easy. What would be your advice, Cole, to another Cole who is watching this interview, let's say, in 2023, like now in 2025? What can help fast track your preparation, streamline your preparation, and avoid, the pitfalls and get the job done faster?
Yes, I would say that one, watching the videos in 1.5x was very helpful, and not feeling like I was having some of my time, too much time devoted to maybe the videos, because I knew I just needed to get to practicing the question asked in the videos. So I definitely feel like in the beginning, watching all the videos all the way through, some of it I was not grasping. But like I said before, kind of that overconfidence was getting the best of me, that, oh, I knew how to solve that problem. And then so I took more time as I wasn't getting the results that I wanted, into making sure that I was following along in the video. Even though I was moving along faster, it kind of kept my attention uh, on the video, and going through the practice problems, pausing the video. I never let it go all the way through to the solution and then did it. I always paused it, and that's where the majority of my time spent on a particular video was for the practice problem. That helped me a bunch. I did not do that the first time, and I think that if I had done that the first time, I might have gotten the results I wanted much sooner. So I'll be bringing that into the PE power.
Yeah. Yeah, and P Power, I'm assuming that you're going to go for the on demand plus the live training the first time
Yes,
around.
we'll just do it all and then not look back and try to take care of it
Exactly.
then.
One and done. Look forward to helping you pass your PE Power exam very soon, Cole. And thanks a lot for your time. And again, many congratulations on this wonderful achievement.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank you for sticking with me, and of course my wife and family for helping me and keeping me motivated, even whenever I would go home and say I just had no motivation to study. She was with me to keep me going because she knew this was a goal of mine from the beginning. So I was happy to get it done.
Yeah, having that support is amazing. And just to put things in perspective, Cole, I'm sure that some of the people who are watching this interview are probably looking back and saying that this guy graduated in 2023 and he started on this journey, P licensing journey, the same year. And then in 2024, he had a failure, and then in 2025, within a matter of less than 1.5 years, I think, since your graduation, you got the job done, right? You're still miles ahead of other people who, for whatever reason, have not been able to pull the trigger on their FE electrical exam, right? They might be 5 years out of school, 10 years out of school, 15 years. In fact, I have helped students who have been 20 plus years out of school who go through my program and fast track their preparation. So, in grand scheme of things, right, you are still ahead of the curve. Getting the FE exam out of the way within 1.5 years of graduation. There are folks multiplied by 10, 1.5 multiplied by 10 is equal to 15, right? 15 years out of school, 10 times longer out of school, right? Who are still trying to get this achievement that you have achieved in a fairly short period of time. So, again, many congratulations and look forward to helping you pass your P Power in the first attempt.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. On a weekly basis, I'm creating content for FE Electrical and P Power exam preparation. I also discuss topics related to electrical engineering with a focus on power systems engineering. If you'd like to learn more about my FE Electrical and P Power exam preparation programs, please visit my website, studyforfe.com.